Okay, saving scribe time, the segment where we talk to one of the finance journos in the team, aka our saving scribes. And this week we're talking to Bernadette Lunas, who's been looking a bit into novated leases. She's recently updated an article on Savings.com.au exploring novated leases. It's obviously a fair bit of interest in this topic at the moment with EV sales accelerating. And a lot of people looking into paying for them via novated leases. So today we're going to break down with Bernadette why novated leases are getting so much attention right now and what they actually are. G'day, Bern. Great to have you on the podcast once again.
Hi, hey Dom, and hi Denise. Glad to see you here.
Bern, let us know. What's your savings tip?
Okay, so my savings tip for today is use fuel price apps. So before we move on to talking about novated leases, over the past few weeks, Australians and perhaps the rest of the world have seen rapid changes in petrol prices, driven by the current market instability linked to the conflict in the Middle East. And the thing is, those price changes don't show up evenly. So fuel prices in Australia can vary widely depending on the suburb and the day that you fill up. So, in some cities, the price difference between two servos 5 kilometers apart can be 20 to 30 or even 40 cents a liter. So, on a full tank, that's the difference between spending $80 or well over 100. So, that's exactly why. At this time, more than ever, fuel price apps are so helpful. So, apps like Fuel Check, Petrol Spy, and Motor Mouth show you real time prices at nearby stations. So they let you see where prices are lowest right now, and just as importantly, where they're most expensive. So that matters extra right now because price cycles have become less predictable. Recent geopolitical shocks briefly disrupted the usual weekly rhythm of petrol pricing in major cities, making guesswork more expensive than ever. So, by taking advantage of those apps, you can introduce a bit of strategy into your refilling. So, perhaps instead of topping up as soon as the fuel light comes on, you check an app, you see prices falling in nearby suburbs, or that tomorrow is likely to be cheaper. So you wait or detour slightly so you can pay 15 cents a liter less. So that's like $7 or $8 saved on a single tank. Over a year for a regular driver, if you're a regular driver, that can comfortably run into hundreds of dollars. And for families or long distance commuters, much more. So right now, fuel price apps aren't just handy. They're actually low effort way to protect your budget from a very unpredictable petrol market. So check your app for 30 seconds, plan your fill up, and save money.
Nice tip, Bern. Yeah, I've been obsessively checking Motormouth lately. That's the one that I use. One of the first things I check on my phone when I wake up in the morning is just have a look. Oh, what are prices doing at the moment? Particularly now, I didn't use them that much in the past, but yeah, obviously with this fuel price crisis we're going through at the moment, it's certainly getting much more of a workout, that app. And yeah, it is quite astounding, sort of the difference in prices that you can get between service stations. So yeah, agree with you on that one there, Bern. So yeah, let's getting into the topic here, novated leases. So yeah, first question: why are novated leases especially popular right now for electric vehicles?
Okay, so before I go into that, just like a brief explainer. So, what is novated lease? So, a novated lease is a three-way agreement between you, your employer, and a finance provider. So, basically, you choose the car, the finance provider buys it, and your employer agrees to make the lease repayments on your behalf using your salary, which lowers your taxable income. So, for many Australians, this has become a viable alternative to get their hands on the car they want without taking on a full car loan. Um, However, normally that arrangement, novated lease, would trigger fringe benefit, what we call the fringe benefit tax or FBT, and that can significantly erode the savings. So, what is FBT? So, it's a tax levied on the fringe benefits provided by your employer. So, like say gym membership, entertainment expenses, or a car. So, employers are generally responsible for paying FBT at a rate of 47% of those perks' taxable value per the ATO. And in some cases, your employer may pass this expense on to you. So Some employers may be exempt up to a certain amount from paying this tax. These are your public hospitals, not for profit hospitals, ambulance services, public benevolent institutions. But even if your employer does not fall under those categories, under current rules, eligible electric vehicles leased through a novated lease are exempt from FBT. So that exemption is actually a game changer. So, battery electric vehicles or BEVs and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles remain FBT exempt for the 2025-2026 FBT year. So provided that their value is below the fuel efficient luxury car tax threshold. So that means EV drivers can salary package not just the car itself, but also many running costs while genuinely reducing their tax bill. So when you combine that with lower fuel and servicing costs, the number can stack up quickly. Hybrids, on the other hand, usually don't qualify for the FBT exemption. Why? Because plug-in hybrids are those which leases start on the 1st of April last year, 2025, are no longer qualify for that exemption unless the vehicle was already held or used prior to that date. So that means the tax advantage is far smaller and in some cases disappears entirely once FBT is factored in. So that's why novated leases tend to look far more compelling for fully electric vehicles than for hybrids. And reason why you're probably hearing more about novated leases these days as people buy or consider buying EVs.
Yes. So, what's it look like, Bern, for people to do that? What are employers like as far as approaching them to do that? Is it just big companies that offer that, or have you found in your research that it's available if you do the footwork yourself?
Actually, it depends on the employer. So, if you're considering getting a car using novated lease, you could ask your employer if they're offering it. So, you could ask them that. But if you're really set to buy a new car and novated lease is not available for you, you can finance it through a traditional car loan. So, how are they different? So, with a car loan, you own the car from day one. You borrow money from a lender, make repayments from your after tax income. So, that means there are no tax benefits, but the structure is simpler compared to novated lease. So, you can sell the car, modify it, or change jobs without needing anyone's approval. You can't actually do most of those things, or you can easily do those things if your car is financed through a novated lease. So again, novated lease works differently. You don't own the car. You don't actually own the car during the lease term. The finance provider does. And at the end of the lease, there's a residual value or balloon payment that if you want to keep the car, uh, you have to pay it. Otherwise, you might refinance, sell the car, or roll into a new lease. So tax, I guess, is where novated lease can win against car loan because repayments come from a pre-tax income, lowering your taxable salary, and with FBT being exempt, especially if you are exempt, if your employer exempt, or if your car is eligible for the exemption, there's that another savings. But then again, flexibility is the trade off. A novated lease usually assumes you'll stay employed and salary package for the full term. Change jobs, take extended leave, or lose access to packaging, and you may need to take over repayments yourself, often without the same tax benefit. So, when you put it all together, the picture is pretty clear. Novated leases are booming for EVs because current tax rules remove FBT and amplify savings. Hybrids don't enjoy the same treatment. Uh, and then compared to car loan, novated leases offer potential tax savings, but again, less ownership control and flexibility. So, making them, I guess, powerful in the right circumstances, but risky in the wrong ones. So, again, as we always say here, the decision isn't about headline saving. It's about whether the structure works for you, your job, your tax position, and maybe how long you plan to stay put.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's interesting because I've had one experience with a novated lease, and it was my husband that took it out. And I think he had it for about 2 months before he got made redundant. So, yeah, didn't work out quite as planned. Would have been nice if someone had have decided that they would tell them first before they did those things, because they actually made 400 people redundant at the same time. So someone must have known that may have been happening. So I'm always very suspicious of novated leases, and you did touch on that. It's very handy if you are going to keep your job, but it does come with risks. And whenever I hear that, I'm always just quite wary of not having control of that yourself. I think what happened in that case was the loan converted to just a traditional car loan, and that was written into the contract. So yes, experienced both worlds there. There was the whole reason was for a tax benefit, but it was not to be. Just paid out a loan out of cash that was in the bank. So sort of defeated the whole purpose, and does make me suspicious of, you know, doing that thing through your employer. You just don't quite know, particularly in the current economic climate, what could happen there. So it's probably worthwhile taking into account as well.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the risks of novated leases there. But at the same time, I do see the attraction of them too. I mean, you see a lot of the cars on the road at the moment, particularly brand new ones. I think, geez, how are people buying these cars? Like, they're like upwards of, 40, 50, 60, $70,000. And I just say, are people actually buying these outright? Probably not. I think a lot of people are looking at, regular car loans, of course, but also novated leases. I can see the appeal, given it's a simple lease payment that you make, maybe once a month, but that payment also includes, maintenance and insurance and a few other things. And you get a lot of the freedoms that you would have with car ownership as well. But yeah, there's, as Denise has mentioned, that there's that downside of, if you lose your job, then it will just convert to probably a regular finance lease or a car loan, and then you lose that sort of tax benefit. It is interesting as well, Bern, that I didn't realize that hybrids were not exempt from the fringe benefits taxes, only to electric vehicles only. But I do wonder, with the government looking to salvage some of their sort of costs, and sort of repair the budget a bit, whether they're going to be looking at things like the tax exemption treatments they give to electric vehicles, because I've heard that that's with EVs so popular at the moment, that's starting to cost the government quite a bit in foregone revenue with all the subsidies and tax concessions that they offer to EV drivers. So I wonder if maybe that benefit is on at the moment, but maybe it won't be available in a year or two's time. So we'll see how that plays out. Bern, really appreciate your time as always on the Savings Tips podcast. Thanks very much for your insights into novated leasing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great to have
Thanks.
you with us again, Bern. And it's great for people to hear about all this stuff at the moment. I think there'll be a few people seeing what they can do to get an electric vehicle if this plays out as it is.
Thank you. Thanks, Dom. Thanks, Denise.
Thanks, Bern. Cheers.